What is good, everybody? We are back. It is February 26th, and we've been gone a little while. Had a few vacations there. Tons of news to catch up on. All different kinds of things to discuss here on today's podcast. But first, I want to hear about Disney. Good old Disney. We were talking about Disney on the last show. Mike's family was headed down there, and I wanted to know what that was all like, because I've heard good stories, I've heard bad stories about previous Disney visitors with families. So,
who have you heard bad stories from?
My plumber.
What did he say? I don't know what he said.
My plumber Dominic. My plumber Dominic told me.
Does he have kids?
Well, obviously that's why he went down to Disney, right?
Hold on. Well, wait. Okay.
Oh boy, it scares me a little bit. But anyway, so Dominic goes down to Disney and comes back, and I'm expecting him to be all happy about going to Disney. So I said, "Hey Dom, how was it?" And he goes, "Dude, it was torture. I mean, you walk into the park, there's 6,000 people. The kids go in 6 different directions. They're screaming, they're crying. One kid wants to go on one ride. They don't understand the concept of lines, so they're waiting for things. And there's kids in front of them, so they start to fight about that." And he said, the kids enjoyed it in the end. It was good for them. It was something that they wanted to do, that they did. They checked it off their bucket list, but never in a million years would he ever go back and do it again.
So Disney, I could see that. Disney was awesome. It really is the place dreams come true. Like they say, it's so cool. You go there, you feel like a kid again. But I will say, you have to, if you go to Disney, you have to do it strategically. Like you have to attack it like you're going to war, like an assassin. Like you got to have a game plan, because if you don't, and you just show up and you're winging it, that will happen.
Yeah.
It's packed. You'll end up waiting on tons of lines. So, but they have the Disney app now. You could do the Fast Pass
on the app.
So yeah, and like as we're going to things, we're fast passing it, and so you get to cut the line, go through the fast pass line. It's like a little extra, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, for me, my kids were only like 40 inches is the height. Like once the kids hit 40 inches, they can get on most rides.
How tall is that?
That's a little over 3 feet.
I can't conceptualize
3 feet,
that,
4 inches. What's 3 feet?
I don't know.
So, probably like your waist.
Okay.
So once they're 40 inches, they can go on most of the rides. My kids, my older son, Paul, is just shy of 40 inches, and they're pretty strict. Like, you can't. I was like, stand on your tippy toes. And he's on his tippy toes. And they're like, he's on his tippy toes. I'm like, but they're pretty strict. So we did like it was all like It's a Small World, like where you basically sit in a little boat, and they take you around, like all little things like that, which was cool. The kids still liked it.
So now you got to do a second trip for the big rides.
I'll go for the big rides. I definitely, now that I've been there, we hit each park. We hit all 4 parks. I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to go back just adults, because that place is cool. I mean, yeah, you can go on like we went on, I think, 1 adult ride, and it was pretty fun. If we could have gone on more adult rides, but I mean, what are we gonna do? We're gonna ditch the kids. So we were on the Avatar ride, which is insane.
You did that?
Yeah, we did that.
So tell me about that.
So you can't fast pass that way. You can, but it's like a special type of fast pass. So you can't, like, if you do that one, you can't do
like
other ones.
$4,000, you could walk.
Yeah, and the wait was like 3.5 hours. So we pulled like the scam of all scams. We basically like just went up to the people, and we're like, listen, we had the fast pass, we lost it, we got the kids, they're cranky. Like, can we just? And like we just kept talking until they're like, all right, go ahead, you could use the fast pass.
Get out of here.
So we used the fast pass, and it was still like a 15-minute wait, but it starts off pretty stupid. You go into like a little room, and like a guy talks to you, and then eventually you go and you sit on like a little motorcycle, and you have a huge screen in front of you. And it's like you're riding one of those birds in Avatar, and it's like basically virtual reality. The wind, the water's blowing on you.
Do you feel
you feel the drops? Yeah, you feel the winds. You get sprays of water. When the bird drops, you feel it drop. There's one part like a wave crashes over you. It's pretty insane. It's cool. That's probably the rides of the future. Like, forget going on an actual roller coaster. Like, you're probably just strapping on a virtual reality headset. Why risk it when you could
trick your brain into doing the same thing? Right?
Yeah, like imagine riding a roller coaster, but it's in the setting of like Pandora or whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's probably where rides are going. That's pretty cool. But I would go back. Epcot has the Around the World, which is like it's a big go around the world, like all different countries. You get a drink at each one. You go out to dinner. I mean, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to go as just adults, because you're basically going to an all-inclusive resort that's made for little kids but has alcohol and can be fun for adults too.
Isn't it funny though how, as a parent, you kind of relive a little bit of your childhood, like certain things.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Of having kids is that you relive your childhood, like doing all the stuff. You know, like, oh, I love that. Like, my mother-in-law wanted to go on It's a Small World because she went on that. You get to relive that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to watch some movies, you know, like, that I watched as a kid, and then you watch them with your kids because you remember, like, I watched that movie, and it's...
So for me, with that, it's... we're getting off on a tangent, but it's Beauty and the Beast. Believe it or not, my daughter loved Beauty and the Beast, but I, as a kid, I mean, think about it, we were born in '86, right? Mm-hmm. So I think Beauty and the Beast came out in 1990, and then my younger sister was born. She used to watch it all the time, so I used to watch it because she used to watch it, and I had nothing else going on. So interesting how that kind of comes full circle.
And then you look forward to watching Beauty and the Beast with your kids.
Yeah, and then they came out with the remakes, then I got into the remake. Ridiculous, but...
So I was at Disney. What's going on in your life? Anything new?
So we rang the Nasdaq bell.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
Which was awesome. So my wife obviously is the vice president of the Children's Heart Foundation, and everything that goes on with my little guy and everything that she does with regards to, you know, fundraising efforts and all that good stuff. But so they called. They were scheduled to do it that Friday, like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, something like that. And it was awesome, man. We came in like a few days early because the company had backed out, and we got in there. And
well, how's that work? Did they reach out to you, or you guys reach out to them? Like, hey.
So they had it scheduled for that Friday, and
but who sets that up? Like Nasdaq contacts the charity, or the charity contacts them? Do you know the details?
I don't know the specific details of that. All I know is that they were scheduled to go in on a Friday. They called us and said they called, you know, the president of the Children's Heart Foundation and said, hey, you know, you were scheduled to come in Friday, but we have a company that backed out tomorrow. Would you guys like to come in a day early? So then they start, like, you know, scrambling to get everybody together, and everyone gets their kids, everyone kind of dressed in red, and we all went there. But you get there, and so the Nasdaq bell is not the New York Stock Exchange. I was expecting the New York Stock Exchange where, you know, you walk in, everyone's holding tickets and screaming at each other, buy this, sell that, right? Like the stuff you see in the movie Wall Street. Was not that at all. So we get there, and we had to wait in the lobby for a little bit. But, you know, we were with kids, so my son's running around the lobby, he's throwing things everywhere, he's making a big disaster of the whole lobby of Nasdaq. We go upstairs, and along the wall, what was cool was there were all these, like, photos of Bill Gates ringing the bell, and
Jeff
Bezos ringing the bell, and, you know, Google ringing the bell, and all these tech companies, because Nasdaq is the tech exchange, right? So then the guy who was doing whatever they were doing in the actual production room, so around the corner there was a black door, and beyond the black door you could see it through the window. They were actually doing a professional production. And if I watch Fox Business. If it was like Maria Bartiromo or any of those people, or like Varney, right, from Varney and Company, I would have known exactly who it was. But I didn't know who this guy was. Looked familiar. I might have flipped through the channel every now and then and seen him. But he comes out, leaves for the day, and then they invite everybody in. Now he came out at, let's say, like 8:45, and then we all walked in the room at like 9:15. And you walk into this room, and to see a professional TV production is actually like sick. So the room is a big circle, and half of the circle is glass windows that you could see outside. It's Times Square. So you have people walking by, living everyday life, and then you look
Can they see in?
Yeah, they can all see in. So, and then the other semicircle is basically the whole. It's a big wall that is a complete digitized wall that is all like a TV screen. And then hanging from like rafters is all TV equipment. And the place is outfitted with speakers, and it looked like $10,000 cameras, and completely insane. So then obviously we're all there with kids. The kids are like running around the room, and they're destroying it. Okay, they're running into things, they're jumping on stuff, and then the president of the Children's Heart Foundation goes up to the podium and she says a speech talking about the foundation and what they do, and that's at like 9:25. She finishes the speech at 9:28.
So what was this televised on?
It was on everything, CNN, MSNBC, everything.
Gotcha.
Well, not the speech, but so what they do is, she does the speech from like 9:25 to 9:28.
Mm-hmm.
Then we all get up there. It's 9:29, and from 9:29 to 10:01, you have to sit there and just clap and look like you're happy.
For 31 minutes?
No, 2 minutes.
Oh.
9:29 to 9:31.
Okay, I think it's 10:01.
Yeah. So imagine trying to keep 10 to 15 children.
No, impossible.
For 2 minutes, staring at a screen, happy and clapping. Okay?
Yeah.
One kid and then the speakers come on. Boo, 10, 9, 8, 7. So immediately Lily thinks the fucking place is about to explode.
Mm-hmm.
She starts crying. The next kid starts crying, and all the adults are sitting there just kind of keep everybody in the same place and clapping, and then they have you clap for a full minute after the actual opening bell, which is at 9:30. But
why did they have you clap for so long? Oh.
I don't know.
I guess they're just
because they sit there and they film, and they film you for 2 minutes, and basically like 9:30, like Barney will come on and be like, "Oh, they're ringing the opening bell at Nasdaq," and then you'll see like the opening bell ring and all that stuff. But nevertheless, very cool experience. Somehow I got to get over to the New York Stock Exchange though, because that one looks pretty cool too. I definitely want to see the floor.
Tell the Children's Heart Foundation.
Yeah, and then they take you in. So then they take you into Times Square, and on the corner there they have a big digital banner, and they take you through what was playing.
Yeah.
On the digital banner in Times Square, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So very cool stuff. But yeah, that was the highlight of my few weeks that we've been at work here. But since our last podcast, with regards to news, I think, and this is a huge subject that I want to discuss. There's a lot of different things to talk about it. Long Island City basically got a big blow. Took a big blow with everything that went on with Amazon. They officially backed out. Supposedly, according to Amazon and Company, the local politicians in the area and supposedly the people, which they polled the people, and that's not true at all. A very small percentage of the people were actually opposed to the whole thing. But the Democrats, or the progressive liberal Democrats that are in New York, specifically supposedly Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, were very much against it, and they were very verbal about being against it, and all the tax breaks.
Which is crazy, because, I mean, de Blasio's progressive liberal, and he was for it. Cuomo, Democrat, was for it. So it wasn't like a Democratic thing. It was really, it sounds like it was AOC.
Yeah, man. But so that's like the big discussion is the Democratic Party is splitting, supposedly, into a far left, which is your AOC.
It's like a socialist party. Almost.
And then there's that, like, normal left side, which is not completely insane and irrational. But the long and short of it is, and I wrote a whole blog about this, that what Long Island City will look like in 15 to 20 years from now is so drastically different.
Now that this happened.
Think about it. Had they come here, okay, the sentiment of New York City and what it would have been for other companies to want to come and be in the same presence as a place like Amazon and Google, which is in Manhattan now, and all that stuff. Long Island City has been traditionally a very commercial, warehouse-driven neighborhood that's been gentrifying and turning into an actual residential area. And Long Island City would have, the Amazon coming to Long Island City rather, would have been basically like the kickstart of solidifying what the neighborhood would have been about, what it would have gentrified into going forward. You have 25,000 employees at the start, and supposedly they were estimating that they would have gotten up to 40,000 employees within 10 years.
And it's just the beginning.
And it would have been a 30, I think, $billion cash injection into the local
or
economy.
5 years or something.
Yeah, something crazy like that. And not only is Long Island City hurting, but don't forget, you got these bigwigs too that were coming there, and those bigwigs would have bought high-end property in the area. They would have bought high-end property in Brooklyn. They would have bought high-end property in Manhattan, and if they had kids, they probably would have ended up in Western Nassau County. In the Great Neck, Port Washington, Sands Points of the world. That's probably where they would have been. So yeah, I mean, huge hit, huge, and I don't understand, quite honestly, like where the Democrats get off as thinking that this is, or the AOCs of the world get off as thinking that this is a good move. I mean,
well, isn't she? Where'd she go to college? Isn't she like
Boston
College?
She's not a dummy, but she's a dummy.
Like she's well educated. I don't understand how you go to a good college like that. I mean, you should be intelligent. You go to Boston College.
There's a lot of people that think these colleges now, because they're teaching such progressive ideologies, that they're indoctrinating people to think these things are good.
AOC, where'd she grow up? In the Bronx? Is that it?
I don't know where she grew up. I know she went to Boston though.
I mean, I guess I can understand like her views if she's being from where she's from. Like she's fighting for like her local neighborhood, but. It's just Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. If you look at the direction the world is going, increasingly online, I mean, Amazon owns that space. Amazon is one of the companies going to define
America.
Yeah, America, the world over the next 10 years. I mean, easily. They're going to have that big of an impact. They're going to be that big of an innovator, I think. And to not, they're going to come to your local community. They're going to invest in it. Yeah, I mean, things are going to change, but...
What about those local people who don't have jobs today that Amazon might be able to employ? Yeah. It's so short-sighted. There's so much that would have happened as a result of this. And a lot of people also think that, now that this has happened, that it's almost like a red flag. Like, oh, don't go to New York.
Well, that's the thing. You've killed the chance of any change. So you want to complain that, we don't have our local communities. We don't even have the infrastructure we need in the subways or this or that. I mean, that... First of all, I love how she's saying, like, we could take that $3 billion that we were subsidizing for Amazon and give it... you didn't have that money. That was revenues Amazon was going to bring in that you were just going to let them give back to them, right? So New York State doesn't have $3 billion they can use, that, right? And I love how she's like, well, we'll just print the money. I mean, it's nice that, you say that, but it doesn't work like that, obviously. Yeah, and what company now is going to come in? They're going to be afraid to come in.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, I don't want to deal with that meeting.
Yeah, so where do you see change coming from now? I mean, it was such a short-sighted thing. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Supposedly, the city building everybody drives by going into the city. That it was like the original building in Long Island City. Before everything else started building up around it. I think it's called Savannah or Salvana is who actually owns the building and is in charge of leasing the building out. They cleared out over 1 million square feet. Of office space for Amazon, and now they're gone. Supposedly, they're having issues now finding an occupant for those spaces.
Yeah. I mean, you're not gonna. Amazon's one of the biggest companies in the world. You're not just gonna get one of the biggest companies in the world. It's gonna get a lot of little companies. But again, same thing. They're gonna be like, if they did this to Amazon, I don't want to. Why do I want to deal with that? I don't have the time and energy or power to deal with these politicians who are going to be...
No, and she's so mainstream now. I mean...
I don't know why they give her so much attention.
Well, because of things like this.
Because she's crazy.
Exactly.
She's crazy, so she's a nice headline. She makes news. She gets ratings.
Yes, but does Amazon want to be lumped in with AOC? No.
I don't understand, though. Like, this is on... It's got to be on Cuomo and de Blasio. Like, she's nuts. She's not for it. Like, how do you not just call Amazon and be like, listen... We'll take care of her. Don't worry about it, or just get ahead of it, or just tell her, like, listen.
Calm down.
What are you, 30 years old?
They can't.
Yeah, like
she's nuts, bro. But that's the thing. Cuomo did say publicly. He actually it's published in like the New York Post.
Yeah.
Like, he turned around and said, like, your Democratic Party in the Senate, for their own short-sighted political views, just lost New York City, one of the biggest opportunities of all time to have the biggest company.
Exactly. That opportunity doesn't come around.
And then she walks out of the meeting, clapping and smiling, saying a few New Yorkers stood up to the wealthiest man in the world and kept the biggest business in the world out. I mean, are you out of your mind?
Idiot.
Plain old
Seriously.
idiot. Yeah, I know. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's not good. I mean, all the real estate and the new development that would have been absorbed as a result of that company coming here that is now outstanding with developers that can't fill space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and just the employees from living in and working in the local community would have had. I mean, they would have been consumers to all the businesses there.
that would have popped up.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it is what it is. It's over now, but.
And I know you said it, but the biggest thing is, I mean, you've just set a precedent. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it just becomes like a black hole, like a barren wasteland. Like what company is going to want to go there now? Who's going to want to invest in that community? You know?
I know.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope it works out.
I know. So speaking of madness, let's talk about what's her name? Linda Curran. Is that her name? Laura Curran.
Mm-hmm.
Laura Curran.
County executive, Nassau County.
The county executive of Nassau County. A lot of people are very unhappy with what's going on with this. Basically what's happened in Nassau County is, over the years, the previous way to keep your taxes lower was to just grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that grieved had lower taxes. But as we know, I mean, how many times do we walk into someone's house or have a conversation with them and have a discussion where they turn around and say, my taxes are so high, but I haven't grieved them in 5 years. I haven't looked at it. Right? So this woman is basically, I mean, it depends how you look at it. She's basically hitting the reset button on everybody's assessed value in Nassau County.
Every house in Nassau County.
Every single house, for over 400,000 properties supposedly. She hit the reset button on commercial and residential. And 52% of those properties are going to see increases in taxes and 48% are going to see reductions. Now, if I had to just kind of guess, I would assume that the people who are going to see those increases are at the higher end of real estate, right? Those are the people that were probably paying attention to their taxes. They had their grievance lawyer on speed dial. They called them every year. They signed the paperwork. That person went and grieved their taxes, and they were lower for the existing neighborhood around them. And the person that did not was typically probably the person who, was too busy at work, not paying attention to certain things because maybe they just couldn't, whatever, right? So, in my honest opinion, I actually think this is the fair way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But this comes at a very bad time when you can only deduct up to $10,000 in your SALT deductions.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a very soft luxury real estate market already on the island because the taxes are so obnoxious, and now they're just going to go up higher. So, I mean, what do you think? Where do you see this going? Because you can't do both of those things. You know what I mean?
So I think it's very interesting. So basically, Laura Curran's argument was that all the houses that aren't grieving are basically subsidizing. They're basically paying. Their taxes being higher, they're paying for all the houses that were grieving every year. So what happened is whoever grieved their taxes, basically you're arguing that the value of your home is lower than it is, or lower comparatively to other houses, so that the assessed value is less and you pay less taxes. And the way it worked is that, at least to my knowledge, anyone who grieved, it never hurt you. Your taxes either stayed the same or went down. So what you had was you had houses that, say it's a $500,000 house, but they grieved their taxes every year for the last 15 years, and the assessed value of the house was like $250,000. So I mean, listen, I think it makes sense to hit the reset button and accurately appraise every house based on today's market value. You're right, though. Unfortunately, some houses are going to. I mean, it's kind of like just nationally. nationally we're what, 22, 23 trillion dollars in debt,
Mm-hmm.
right? At some point, it's not going to be a popular decision, and some people aren't going to like it because it's going to cost them money, or it's going to be more expensive for them to live. But at some point, you got to bite the bullet and say, listen, what we're doing is crazy. We have to fix it. It's broken. We have to stop spending money, or we have to, whatever it is. And yes, there will be a little bit of pain, but if we don't do it now, we're only digging ourselves in a deeper hole.
Powell was actually on Capitol Hill today, and in his statements he said that our national debt is unsustainable. What's happening with our national debt is unsustainable.
Yeah, so this is similar. I mean, you can't have, right, so people want to live in nice communities. They want to have good school districts. They want to have, whatever, public safety, police officers, fire departments, roads, right? They want to have nice infrastructure. I mean, it costs money to make all that happen. So you can't have it both ways. You can't want to live in a nice community and have good schools, and then just pay as little in taxes as possible. So everyone's like, I want the rich to pay their fair share. I mean, really, everyone should pay their fair share, and I'm not saying everyone doesn't.
I agree with that.
People probably pay more than their fair share because a lot of money's wasted. A lot of money's wasted, or there's expenses that shouldn't be. It's just government is wasteful in general. So that's the problem. So I get why people are mad because they're paying all these taxes and the government's not spending their money wisely, or the government's wasting their money. But at the same time, I mean, you can't have houses being assessed at $250,000 when the true value is $600,000.
Totally agree.
It's a broken system. So I think what she did was needed. Yes, some people their taxes are going to go up. Or what was it, 48% of people, 52?
I mean, we were looking up some properties earlier where at the highest end of the market, there was $50,000 differences.
Yeah.
In places like Garden City, sometimes some houses we saw like $10,000 to $15,000 differences, which is a lot for that market.
I mean, it was probably necessary to hit the reset button. Unfortunately, the problem is just wasteful spending in general. So that's got to be fixed. But I mean, what she did, I think, makes sense.
It makes sense, but it just comes at such a bad time. I mean, everybody's talking about the SALT deduction.
But there'll never be a better time. It'll only get. That's what I'm saying. You only dig yourself deeper.
Yeah.
So it's either you bite the bullet now, or it's not like 2 years from now. It's gonna be like, this is a great time. Let's do it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
I think the problem is that legislation. There's a balance, right? Politicians can't tax people out of New York either. I mean, there was also those headlines running today that on secondary homes in New York, over at $5 million or better, they want to hit people with another tax.
Mm-hmm.
So, think about the secondary market in the Hamptons, right? Now the Hamptons, they don't have a tax issue because there's really no major public school programs out there.
Yeah, taxes are cheap.
Taxes are very cheap.
I mean, relative to the rest of them now.
But think about it. Just to get into a Hamptons house, that would be $5 million or more. You have to pay a mansion tax.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay the Peconic Bay flip tax, which is about 2%. And then now, if they come up with another tax for being over $5 million, you probably have to pay that tax as well.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is fine if other places are doing it.
Yeah.
All of it is not fine if other parts of the country that are just as desirable, like a West Palm Beach, Florida, or a Fort Lauderdale, or a Star Island in Miami, or Golden Isles in Miami, if they're not doing it there, then why in God's name would you buy anything in the Hamptons? What's the point when you could just rent something?
Yeah, I mean, it's the states. All the states are competing against one another. They're competing for people, taxpayers, whatever you want to call it, the population, citizens, taxpayers, whatever it is. And if you're not being competitive with other states, you're not going to get the people. And the people is what brings the revenues and brings all of the enhancements and everything else. So you have to be competitive, and to just keep raising taxes on the wealthy or raising taxes on certain areas. I mean, eventually people are going to say, at a certain point, there's a breaking point, and people are going to say, listen, I'll just go to Florida or pick a state, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll pick somewhere that's more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I mean, I went to my accountant, I did my taxes, I sat down with him, and I said, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? What's new? And we started to kind of just, bullshit. And he was telling me that it's the most difficult year for him with regards to doing people's taxes, because most people are employees and they pay W-2s, right? They get paid by W-2s. So when people are an employee and they get paid W-2, tax season's like getting another bonus, right? Because the government withholds money out of your check, and then at the end of the year, you get all that money back in the form of a refund.
A lot of people depend on it, treat it like a savings account.
Yeah, and it's not a lot of money, but I mean, listen.
Well, it is.
For some, right? Some people it's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, which is significant, right?
Yeah.
But when $4,000 or $6,000 turns into zero, or you owing $1,000 or $2,000 to the government, when you walked in there expecting the same thing that's happened for years now, which is you're going to walk out of there with a refund, that's a problem.
Yes.
I mean,
especially when the cost of living on Long Island is so high.
Yeah, but so here's the other thing. He was explaining to me, they already got that money. It's in the paycheck. They're just not withholding as much. But if you give people a little every paycheck, as opposed to giving them a big, lump sum at the end, they tend to spend that little extra that was in the paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, especially when every year they're getting a refund, and they're not expecting it to change that drastically. They're expecting the refund, so that there's no motivation really for them to change their habit. Most people don't realize the impact that the new tax plan was going to have.
So the new tax plan, though, what he was explaining to me, what it does is, so there's two different ways you could do your taxes. You could take the standard deduction, which is $12,000 if you're single, or $24,000 if you're married and filing jointly, or you can itemize your deductions. So in the past, you could itemize and itemize and itemize and get a much greater deduction than the standard deduction. But in today's world and today's tax plan, there's no more AMT, alternative minimum tax. There's no more AMT, and you're capped at $10,000 for state and local. So what happens is everybody's pretty much better off just taking the standard deduction, unless you're a business, which is, I think after this year people are really going to reorganize their affairs, because he was explaining to me there is absolutely no way to manipulate or play with that tax plan within the constraints of the new laws, that as a W-2 employee you can maximize whatever money you're being paid. It is what it is. You're basically taking the standard deduction, you're paying your taxes, and that's that. There's really no wiggle room or creativity involved.
Yeah.
Unless you're a business, at which point you can get creative. So it's going to be interesting what happens after this year, because between the new tax change and the $10,000, that you can only deduct, and then they've got all these things with the Nassau County reassessments and the high-end real estate and the luxury market. I mean, if I had an expensive house that I was looking to sell right now in the next 3 to 5 years, and these tax increases are happening over the next 5 years, I'm getting out of that house as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, just taking a step back, it almost seems to me as though, whatever you want to call it, the politicians or people in charge, they were kind of taking New York for granted, right? So they weren't creating laws and regulations that made New York competitive, because like, listen, it's New York. We got Manhattan, Wall Street, the greatest city in the world, got the Hamptons. It's so desirable. We got nothing to worry about. These people are always going to be here. And then there's always a breaking point, and now it's gotten to a point where I think they're starting to panic, and hopefully that doesn't cause irrational decisions like more taxes or whatever else, because it's only going to make it worse. I mean, at this point, you gotta, like I said, bite the bullet, make some tough decisions, and get competitive again.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens, because you keep seeing all those articles, mass exodus out of New York, mass exodus. I mean, it's all they talk about on Fox, but who knows if it's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a position to sell, well, right, so it depends. So you said, like, if I own a really expensive house, like a wealthy person, I own a multi-million-dollar house, I'm selling now. Because you anticipate it only getting worse, or that luxury market going down. But where are you going to go? I mean, people have to have options. So if you're someone who's like, yeah, I want to sell, because I want to get the most money now before I'm in a hole. I mean, you got to have an option of somewhere to go. It's not realistic for everyone to just pack up and move to Florida and it's not like they could just sell and downsize because the even cheap houses now are selling at a premium, and they're probably selling for more than they're worth.
Down there.
So people are stuck. They're stuck in their house.
Yeah, yeah. And your average New Yorker can't just get up and leave. I mean, we have families here.
Yeah, jobs.
Not easy. It's not easy. Not easy. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, something's got to give because, again, the tax code is an incentivized system for you to do things a certain way. And when you build a tax code system that basically there's such a disparity between what people can do here versus what people could do elsewhere, that's when you create a system where people are trying to get out. I think that's where we're headed.
The other thing that amplifies it, I'll just say, is the weather. Right now, you're in the middle of winter. This is all happening.
I'm aggravated.
Right? People are aggravated. Like, the weather sucks. If tax season was the summer, then maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe people like sitting on the beach.
That's a good idea.
Right? It's true. Like, you're sitting here in the cold and the shitty weather, and all of a sudden you get hit with, like, you're not getting a refund, or you owe the government money, and you're like, fuck this, what am I doing in New York? It's so stupid.
So I actually read once, there's a disease or a symptom, or whatever you want to call it, of the winter depression.
Yeah.
People get depressed in the winter.
Need the sun.
Constantly dark, constantly cold. I don't know. Maybe that's why. I can tell you this much. I'm going to be a snowbird when I get older. So on to Zillow. So Zillow has had a CEO change. Spencer Rascoff is gone. And they're bringing in the original CEO, this guy named Rich Barton, who basically built Zillow, took Zillow public. I read briefly that he worked with Bill Gates in the past on Microsoft, and he's a real deal guy. But one of the things that they're discussing is moving from an internet advertising platform for listings to a company that buys and flips homes. That's what they're doing. That's now going to be their next venture, and I have an opinion on it, but I'm curious to know what you think, Mike.
Yeah, and as far as them buying and flipping homes, the only way someone's going to sell, if you're selling your home to Zillow, you're not putting it on, you're not getting the market price. You're getting a below market price. Because otherwise, how can Zillow be proud? Zillow's not going to buy it and move in unless they plan on being the biggest landlord in the U.S. and renting these homes, right? The only way they can make a profit is to buy it below market value and then flip it and sell it at market value. So, why would someone sell their home below market value? Maybe Zillow will be able to identify people that are, that are in a situation where they need to sell, and they'll be able to scoop up those homes and sell them. But that's not going to affect, for the majority of the population in like our industry, being a real estate agent, that's not going to impact you. That's a very small percentage of homes, and I don't see it having like a big impact on the industry overall. I don't know. How do you see it working if they're flipping homes?
So, I think it depends on the market that they're in, right? So, Zillow clearly has a shit ton of money, right? So think of it like you got this big pot of money that's all being generated from the Premier Agent program, where agents pay Zillow to basically buy advertising space next to other people's listings. So they have all this money, and they're basically arbitraging houses, right? So they're giving people the opportunity to completely bypass the whole sell your house process and just get an instant cash offer, okay?
Which will be below market. It has to be below market.
Which will be below, but that's how it's arbitrageable, right? Arbitrage is simultaneously in stocks and in finance. Arbitrage means to simultaneously buy and sell something and make a profit on it. So, for instance, if you bought oil in Abu Dhabi at $1 a gallon and you sold it in the U.S. for $2.50 a gallon, you just made $1.50, right? And some people are doing those arbitrages, in the markets, okay, the hedge funders and all that stuff. So that's basically what they're doing, is they're arbitraging houses. Now, the housing market is defined by a lot of different things. Most influential part is interest rates, which Recently, they've gone down a little bit, but over time, recently they've gone up. So what happens when interest rates go up is housing values go down. So if you buy that 200, let's say your house is $500,000, and you're able to instant offer it for $450,000.
Mm-hmm.
If the market goes down 10% in that time, because it takes time to sell a house, right? Your buyer on the other end of the transaction might not be all cash.
Well, if it's Zillow, it is.
No. They're buying the person's house for $450. Then they throw it right back on the market for sale for $500. If they throw it right back on the market for sale at $500 and interest rates are taking off, well, now they own an asset that's depreciating in value.
Mm-hmm.
So then, at best, sometimes, and I'm sure they have to pay local municipality flip taxes, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, at that, in a market when the market's taking off and going up, the real estate market, which is this is probably something they should have rolled out 10 years ago, they would have made a killing. But when the market starts to level out or go down, now...
Well, they have to pay capital gains on the houses? Because if they're doing it, you have to imagine they're buying,
well,
I mean,
I don't think,
dozens, if not hundreds of houses.
I think it's a volume game. I don't think it's a huge... So for capital gains, you need to make over $500,000. I don't know if that's a nationwide thing until the capital gains kicks in, but I know here in New York it is. I think it might be a national thing. I don't know. But the long and short of it is they're not looking to hit home runs. They're hitting $25,000, $30,000 base hits, and they're transacting that. They want to transaction thousands and thousands of homes a year. Look, if you look here, I think they did like 5,000 houses last year.
With instant offers.
With instant offers. They said, true to the lofty language, the company aims to massively expand its home buying arm, Zillow offers, to 14 markets by the end of 2019, with a projected annual revenue of $20 billion within 5 years. Still, it disclosed that its profit margins in the fourth quarter were tiny. Why? Because the market was crashing. Zillow made an average of just $1,723 per home.
Yeah, so it's such a high risk game. Why are they doing it?
And if the market crashes, it could put them out of business. Because if they turn around and they own 10,000 houses and the market's going to shit and they can't dump them for what they bought them for, now they're short selling houses.
It's a dangerous game too because
it's the same shit we see people run into individually, like house builders and stuff like that. They're playing on a massive scale.
They could also, it's also a dangerous game because they could be accused of like market manipulation. Because where do most consumers go to figure out the price of their home or to look at the market? They go to Zillow, right? And Zillow has the Zestimates.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could very easily see like the Zestimate of a home is $230,000. It's really worth $300.
Yep.
And then Zillow instant offers that home and says, "We'll give you our Zestimate's $230. We'll give you $200." Right?
Yep.
You know, all cash, sell it today. Guy's like, "All right." Meanwhile, all the information was manipulated from the first place. I mean, I could see the lawsuits coming already.
Yeah.
Right? Someone's going to see their home was bought for a certain amount, sold for a certain amount. They'll be like, "Wait a second. You ripped me off based on information that you were giving me. I mean, it's false information." I just don't. You know what? Know what you're good at, and do that.
To it.
They make a lot of money off real estate agents paying for advertising. They make their money off advertising, right? If you want to flip homes or something, go start a construction company.
Yeah.
Buy homes that are depressed, fix them up, and flip them.
But this is a different game.
I don't know.
I'm telling you what's going to happen. The market's going to shit the bed.
And they're going to be stuck with a lot of houses.
And they're going to be stuck with houses all over the country, and they're not going to be able to get rid of them. They're going to have to sell the portfolio off to a bank at a discount. That's what's going to end up happening. Someone's going to buy that portfolio off of them at a discount, and then rehab all the houses and sell them and make a profit after they take the hit.
And they're only in two markets right now, right?
I don't know I know they started off in two. I think it was Vegas and in Florida, Jacksonville, I want to say. I think it was Jacksonville.
So 5,000, they've done 5,000 homes. That's 2,500 in each community. I mean, I don't know. I just see so much risk with it. I don't really see how it makes sense. I mean, if you want if you want to get the most, which for a home, we always say it's usually someone's largest asset. I mean, most people are going to want to get as much as possible. Why would you not just put it on the open market?
I don't know. I think some people just, for whatever reason, it's that instant gratification. I mean, how many people's houses do we walk into and they're like, I don't want to do an open house. Well, okay, you don't want to do an open house, I get it, but you gotta get people in your house to sell the stupid thing. You know what I mean? You never know why people do things they do.
Yeah, I just don't see there being enough of that. I mean, so there is I think there is a market for the Zillow instant offers, which is fine. I just don't see it impacting the rest of the real estate market or like the real estate agent profession, because that market isn't. It's a small segment of the entire market.
And it doesn't even take into account like is Zillow going into these houses and checking to see if there's mold? Are they doing inspections on them?
Are they fixing them up? Like, yeah, how are they selling it for more?
I don't know.
Are they sending in some construction crew?
I don't know. It's a complete. Well, maybe that's the thing, right? Maybe that's where realtors get a little worried. Is are they taking a house and basically buying it? Are they buying a house, removing the commission? So let's say the commission on a $500,000 house is 5%, so it's $25,000, right? So $25,000. Are they making that offer at $575 and then putting it right back on the market at $500?
And then how are they showing it? They have like employees in these cities that show it for them. I mean, if someone wants to see it, just let yourself in.
I saw a video with a Zillow for sale sign standing in someone, planted in someone's yard.
I mean, if I'm an agent, I'm not taking my buyers there.
No, and here's the other thing. How the fuck did the real estate community share our data with these assholes? And why? Why doesn't NAR... And Rupert Murdoch owns Realtor.com, which is syndicated from the MLS, and he's not trying to, replace realtors. Why are we syndicating to Zillow and Trulia? Remove them. NAR should take the money that we pay in dues and create a centralized database that's accurate. Just like our website, LAPropertySearch.com, but for the whole fucking country.
Yeah.
And make that and rebrand that as the Zillow of the world, so that we're not actually sharing our information or data, because it's a race for the data, right? We're not sharing our data with these third parties who could then turn around.
Well, are there licensing agreements where we have to, or can we just stop?
I have no idea. That's what I would like to actually find out. That's something I should look into. I'm curious, but
yeah, there's a lot of questions this brings up. Because it just doesn't make sense to me based on the information we have. So we just need more information. But I still don't see how it can make sense.
Well, think about it though. Okay, we have MLSLI.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do people use that, or are they using Zillow over that?
Well, they go to Zillow over that, but why? Because Zillow just has brand recognition.
That's it. But what if you never ever shared a feed with them? They wouldn't have anything. They're using our data to take our money and put our faces on our data. Think about that. It's the biggest ruse of all time. Right?
Yeah, I mean, why doesn't MLSLI just say, we're just going to stop sharing and everyone just use MLSLI and start...
Kind of like New York City.
Start advertising.
But then they bought Street Easy. And now they own Street Easy.
I don't know. There's got to be more to it.
You know what it is I don't think realtors are in the tech business.
You don't have to be. I mean...
Well, to build a website like that, you do.
You just hire someone.
They're in the tech business. They're trying to jump over into the development business or the flipping business. We're in the real estate business. Clearly, we never had anyone build out a tech portal that could compete with a Zillow.
It's never gonna. I don't think you're ever gonna replace. Like, if the concern for agents is it's gonna replace agents or make them obsolete, I don't think that's ever gonna be the case. Because you can't. Can you imagine a world where there's just no professional and people are everyone's just selling and buying houses between consumers? I mean that to me just seems like it would be chaos.
Real estate is such a shit show, and I mean, look, how many times have we seen people engage in a transaction where they could completely get taken advantage of in that transaction?
Well, yeah, I mean, so New York State, you have attorneys involved, but there's states where you don't have attorneys involved.
Florida.
And the agents make the contract. So now you just got consumers like Zillow's made agents obsolete, and you just got consumers buying and selling amongst themselves, writing up contracts amongst themselves. I mean, that's mayhem. That's crazy. So there's no way. I don't think the concern needs to be agents going to put us out of business. I don't think that's the case at all. If you're good at your job, and provide value, there'll always be a need for you. Maybe some agents, right?
Yeah.
But
door openers.
I still just don't fully understand the business model and why like an MLS doesn't just say, well, we're just not going to syndicate Zillow, we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A similar situation, Purple Bricks. I mean, obviously they're not doing what Zillow's doing, but article on February 21st in The Real Deal came out, said that it looks real bad for Purple Bricks right now. Supposedly, they're slashing their sales projections by 20%. They're saying they're not making as much money. They're offering those 3D Matterport tours of people's houses if you list with them, and it just seems like all these. Every time someone tries to take the traditional brokerage and move it to some kind of digital platform, it doesn't work.
I mean, real estate is such. It's a tangible thing, but it's also a very intangible thing. It's also a very emotional decision. You can't. I mean, the Purple Bricks doesn't work because you can't just sell a house. Purple Bricks is it's just pay us a flat fee, and we'll list your house and get it sold. The problem with that is, most people don't know how to price their house, so they're going to want more than it's worth. So they're going to pay a flat fee to basically overprice their house. Then it's not going to sell, but they've already paid the fee. So now they're pissed off. Like, well, I paid you $800 or whatever it is. My house didn't sell.
Someone on my block has had a Purple Brick sign in their yard for 6 months. Didn't sell. And I just saw it come up on as an expired listing.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, interesting stuff. But listen, I don't think you're ever gonna take the traditional brokerage out of it and people and understanding neighborhoods. It's too tangible. It's too local. It's just too different of a game to replace in that sense. I mean, other than that, the only big news to really report is that interest rates are at a 12-month low, which...
What are they at now? What's the average 30-year fixed?
4.35. I'm probably off by like 0.2, but it was just under 5% at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
December 24th was supposedly the height of the depth of the market, and since December 24th, we have seen a run up on the market. The stock market's above 26,000. Interest rates are back down to 4.35-ish% from just under 5%. And there's actually a graph that we shared on our most recent blog where it basically shows the relationship nationally between interest rates and mortgage applications. And it's fucking crazy.
It's an inverse relationship.
It's an inverse relationship. The second interest rates go down, mortgage applications take off.
Which makes sense.
Which makes total sense. And why? Because in the end,
cheaper to buy a home.
Right, it makes it more affordable. What you can buy now vastly exceeds what you were previously able to buy. So, very cool. I think we're shaping up for a really good spring selling season just because of that. The only obstacle we have to deal with here in New York is the SALT deduction. That's it. If that gets repealed or rolled back one day, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Well, I think. So just talking about the spring, I think the biggest, and like Purple Bricks and Zillow Instant Offers, I think the biggest value like agents can bring now is a lot of people, we were talking about this earlier in the podcast, but they can't sell because they have nowhere to go. Because if like they're older and they want to downsize, they can sell. But to downsize, even smaller homes now are selling at such high prices, so people feel stuck. That's why you got to call an agent, someone who sells a lot of homes, who's in the market, working with buyers every day, because you can an agent can help you simultaneously buy and sell. We've had 2 people in the last week that we've helped simultaneously sell their home and buy a home, and both were upsizing. But so I think that's where we're bringing value in today's market, and that's why you got to talk to a professional, because if you're not you're going to think you're stuck, and you're probably not. You probably just need some help.
Yep. 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 Interesting stuff. So yeah, I think we're headed for a good market. That's all I've got for you. Mike, what about you?
No, I got nothing else.
Nothing else until next time?
Until next time.
All right, sounds good. Listen, we just actually launched a new website. The website is the Pesce Lanzillotta team.com. If you wanna get there a little bit easier, the shortened address that we have for that, which is a forwarding address, is www.pl-team.com. That's www.pl-team.com. We put a lot of hard work and a lot of effort into that website. We're also blogging about local and national current events with relation to real estate. And we're gonna be providing a lot of good information there for people to look at and keep up with markets and all that good stuff. We'll be posting it all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, the whole nine. But yeah, go there, take a look. It's good stuff. Otherwise, our contact information is the same as always. Our phone here, if you guys want to buy, sell, trade any real estate, is 516-888-9711. That's 516-888-9711, and our email is info@pl-team.com. That's info@pl-team.com. Mike, anything?
Nope. Bye, guys.
Take care.